So today we're doing something a little bit different as we have a look through the Warhammer 40,000 4th edition rulebook, and this right here is my collector's edition version, and we're going to be taking a look, reminiscing on old times. So we'll start off first by talking about my history. So I got into 40k in 1996 when it was still 2nd edition. I got into it with a friend who introduced it to me at school. I was in year 7, so I was 11, 12. Can't remember how exactly old I was. But that was when I got into it. And then they subsequently, because there was quite a few people, had a bit of a uptake in 40k, obviously, till we got to, I want to say, year 10. And so when we were around about 14, 15-ish, they all seemed to drop out and I was basically left on my own. And we were in 3rd edition when that happened. So 3rd edition came out in 1998, I want to say. It was either 98 or 99. I believe it was 98. And they basically didn't transition over to 3rd edition, everyone I played with at school. And so I used to go down to the Games Workshop, which was down Merry Hill, and then played a lot of 3rd edition there. And eventually met a couple of other people that I could go around to their houses because they lived local to me, and we'd play Mordheim, mostly Mordheim, and then we'd play 3rd edition 40k and 4th edition 40k. And yeah, that is basically my history with it, because this was probably the most I ever played in 40k, I want to say. If I'm looking back, this was probably my most played edition by far, even though I think 5th edition is probably definitive 40k. So if we go for the transition from 2nd to 3rd, which was massive, 3rd edition started the core rules that have continued, I would say, ever since. And then 4th improved 3rd, and 4th has the better codexes. Can we just be honest about that one? 4th edition has probably the best codexes that they ever made. And then 5th perfected the core rules, but ruined it with codexes as it sort of become very codex creep heavy, and they wanted to sell more models and stuff like that. They basically transitioned into the Games Workshop we know today with 5th edition midway through, especially with the Grey Knights and Necrons and stuff like that. They were everywhere. But this was my most played because although I had 5th, and I still think that 5th edition starter set is the best starter set Games Workshop ever did, that Black Reach one, for what you actually got in the box, I didn't play that much of it because a lot of the people I played this with backed out, and then I went specifically into Mordheim more so than anything else, and played very little of 5th edition. And so this one is my baby, basically, for my reminiscence. And this was the basically expensive version of the rulebook, and the reason I bought this was basically because I was relatively wealthy at the time. When this dropped, it was 2004, wasn't it? So I was literally earning big full-time wages because I was paid more than everyone else, because I tried to leave for a different company and they decided to pay me the extra what I was leaving for. You can see this is still in really good condition. You know, it comes with this inner sleeve type thing. And of course the rule book. Just want to get my certificate here. So my certificate of authenticity. Don't want to keep that. And then you got the Red Ribbon, but I had a lot more money at this period in time. I got a massive Imperial Guard army that I was working on, working full time. I mean, I was on what, 42k a year at this stage, at like 20. How old would I be? Yeah, I'd be 20. If it's 2004, I'd be 20. Yeah, so I was owning a lot, basically, for my age. And yeah, I could spend a lot of money at Games Workshop. So, this is what it looks like. It's all in black and white. There were no colours of everything back then. It was not till later on that Games Workshop started going more colourful. But this is where a lot of people fell in love with 40k because of this artwork. I need to be honest with you right now. Even though I paid expensive for this book, and I think this was 50 quid at the time. If I'm looking back and trying to remember, I think this was 50 quid, even in 2004, if not 40 quid. It was the collector's edition. It might have even been more. I actually didn't read any of this. Not a single thing. Didn't even bother with the artwork. For me, this artwork has never appealed to me. And I know a lot of people are going to downvote that because that is what got them into 40k. It wasn't the artwork, the world, the setting. It wasn't what got me into 40k. What got me into 40k was being able to buy miniatures, put them on a table and roll some dice. And I was specifically interested in this game because other people played it and there was minis that I could buy. And I didn't realise there was other game systems and everything else out there, because you got to remember, I was Games Workshop through and through from 96 to 2016. Very much so. I didn't even know anything outside of Games Workshop existed. And this, to me, this picture right here, I know I'll put it on the community post the other day. This picture right here, which is basically at that time a full army. So this would have literally been a full army that you could field. It wouldn't have been amazing, but for turning up to a shop, a Games Workshop shop, and putting this down on the table, you would be able to have a couple of hours of fun and, you know, be pretty decent against other people your age, basically. And that was a full army. And the prices back then, so if you consider that would have been £12 to £16 for these tactical marines, which had split up into two squads. These were metal, so these would have cost around about 18. You got the 3 bikes, and then that bike there, which is the metal parts to it, or that is the metal bike. I can't remember exactly, but you're probably looking at 130 quid here, probably. I think you are, because they're metal. They're the old Terminator, metal Terminators. The Land Rover probably would have been the most expensive, and I believe that was £30 at the time, if I remember right. Yeah, that would have been the most expensive kit here. You imagine being able to spend 130 quid in an army and being able to take it anywhere and play with it and paint it up, and that would have been all you needed. It would have been amazing. It was amazing. And what my nan did, because my nan used to basically fund my hobby, because obviously before I was working, I couldn't fund it. This is a great thing for anybody whose kids are interested in 40k and want to start playing. And what I would suggest you do, because this helped me immensely. My nan gave me a budget, which was £5 at the time, but we are talking 1996. And you could buy 5 tactical marines for £5 back then. They wouldn't have the sergeant, they wouldn't have the special weapons, it would just literally be 5 tactical marines with bolt guns. But she would buy me one of them for £5, and then if I painted it within the week, I could basically have another set next time round. So I never became massive in terms of what I had, because sometimes I would say, oh, well, I'd like a blister pack, which the Terminators come in a blister pack of, I believe, 2 or 3. Might have been 2. And they were like £6 for 2. And so what she'd do was, as long as I painted those, she would then buy me a blister pack of, say, 2 Terminators, and I would have to paint them before she would buy me another one. Other things like the Land Raiders and Rhinos and things, which are a bit more expensive, you're talking 20 odd quidish, same as the captains and stuff. The captains, a lot of them would come separately anyway, so they would cost about £7 to £8 separately. And so she would build up the money for 2 weeks, and then I would be able to have that, and then I'd have to paint that before I got the next lot, basically. And it was great. It was a great start to the hobby. And then obviously as I got more money and bought in my own money in 2001, I ended up going into the Imperial Guard, which is when the plastic kits come out and everything else, and it was great. But for me, this is the best part of the hobby. You could have this sort of sized an army and still just have a bit of fun. And that's why I drifted away from this system, because it become way more model intensive and wanting you to buy extra stuff and then buy lots of codexes and rules extensions and everything. In all honesty, Grimdark Future, which is a rule set that I am fond of, this would be perfect for Grimdark Future army-wise. And that's why I think that is an amazing system, because it is more of what I know from the olden days. But you had 1 captain, 2 troops, that was all it was. And this is basically everything that I used to read out this book. It was just literally the rules, and looking at these model pictures right here, this was literally my part of this rule book. And I didn't read any of the fluff or anything like that. I've said plenty times before, I didn't know that a Space Marine was an advanced human until 2015, when I was just getting out of Games Workshop, okay? I did not know that. A Space Marine to me, I just thought was an Imperial Guard in armor, and that was it. I didn't know anything about them, didn't know anything about the Imperial Guard, really, and they were my favourite army. Didn't know anything about what they did or who they were or anything like that. I just thought, oh, it's humans in space. Let's shoot. You know what I mean? That's why I picked them. Orcs were the choppy ones that went forwards. Same as the Tyranids. Necrons were just Terminators. that was my thought process at the time. And I went years and years and years and years and years without knowing a single bit of lore or backstory or anything to this game. And I still maintain that that was brilliant, because you can never be upset with small changes. Like, I know a lot of people get upset when there is certain things happen, and I know that there's currently lots of things getting upset with minuscule people wanting to bring female Space Marines in when they could just make them themselves army-wise. I don't get annoyed at any of that. There's that artwork. Was that 2nd edition, or was that one of the Space Marine Codex covers? I recognise that artwork. I don't know what it's from. I recognise that from somewhere. But the weapons and everything all had their own toughnesses, and you had to go against the opponent's toughnesses. It was definitely different. Here you go, to hit charts. So you match the weapon skills, then you match the strengths versus the toughnesses. Very easy mathematics once you got round to playing and did it a few times. Very easy maths, but for jumping in, it was actually quite complicated at first. I remember being lost by that and having to constantly check everything. But this is definitely my favourite edition to play, even though I think third was my most fun in terms of playing with like-minded people, because I played a lot of randomers through third edition more so than fourth edition, as I said, because I tended to have a set few people who played this one. But it's so strange going through this book and seeing all this this artwork here and how much is actually covered. It makes the game look complex, really, doesn't it? Really does. You imagine a kid picking this up now when you look at 40k, which is over what, a couple of rules on pages? Is it over 4 pages or whatever it is, and then you add everything else separately? You imagine that now, trying to get him to read through this book? When it doesn't really need all this lot. I mean, what's this page for here, realistically? It just tells you that there's tanks for the Imperial Guard and some Tau, and you got walkers for the Imperial Guard. It literally, if you look at this, there's no need for a lot of everything here in terms of actually playing the game. There's a hell of a lot of nonsense, isn't there, really, looking back at it like this. Oh, I remember this when you had to hit certain sides of the vehicles. And they had different types of line of fire and everything. Look at that. So, side sponsons, line of fire, walker, lines of fire, fixed weapons, lines of fire. Now you can just hit anything from anywhere. Very complex, realistically, and I do think the new system is probably better, where you can just aim at whatever you want to aim at and shoot at whatever you feel like. I think that is probably better. But I can see why people prefer the tactical nature of this, because it goes more down to movement, doesn't it? So you need to specifically move a tank into a certain area, and then they can try to flank you and hit you on your side armors or your rear armors where you will be weaker. But it just means it's more complicated to play, and you've got to think more about positioning, and so ends up taking a little bit longer, more so than just, oh, it's going here and it's going to shoot whatever it is over there. It's amazing that they've changed that, but made the game longer in terms of lots more models on the fields and lots of special rules and things like that you can forget. Whereas you got stuff like this, which is the universal special rules, which everything just had. So, oh, we've got Furious Charge. Okay, that's what that does. Okay, we've got Preferred Enemy. Okay, that's what that does. Oh, we got Stealth. Okay, that's what that does. This, for me, was better, them having universal special rules. No idea if them bringing them back. I haven't looked at the new 10th edition rules. Doesn't interest me. But here we go. Organising a battle. So choose a mission, deploy forces, start the game. So you got HQ, troops, elites, fast attack, heavy support. So it was what, 1 to 3, I think? Can't remember. Here we go. So 1 to 2 HQ, 3 elites, 3 heavy support, 3 fast attack, 2 troops that you need, and then you could have up to 6. How easy is that? It's super easy, right? You knew exactly what you were going to bring. You knew exactly what you could have. No allied forces, no loads of different force organization charts. Just straight up, there it is. That's exactly what you can bring. And then you get into your Armageddon stuff and everything later on, which I did eventually do. But look at the terrain sets as well. Look at these. Look how sparse that board is. And yet, it looks amazing. It's completely flat, a few tables on top. There you go. That's brilliant. That's why I think that this was so good. And as we get further into the book, it basically shows you... Where are we? So, oh, that's more lore aspects. We don't want to get into that. Looks at Sisters of Battle. Everyone went mad for that Sisters of Battle, didn't they? Here we are, though. Some of these old models. Look at this. Look at that. Logan Grimnar. I used to love that model. I used to think it was brilliant. And the Empress Champion. That was great. Look at how podgy they am now, though. If you look back, even the Dreadnought, it's so podgy when you consider the Primaris Marines. Look at this. This was what I considered a massive army back then. Look at how many bikes he's got. Look at how many metal Terminators they got. This was huge. You'd never see this outside of Armageddon. Oh, look at the old with the side rockets. That was brilliant. How many Terminators has he got? And then Scouts. Marnius Calgar, the old one. I used to love that model. That old one right there. I did like was it 5th edition? And then they upgraded him. Yeah, absolutely adored that 5th edition. Don't like the new one, that's why I converted it. That one right there and the 5th edition one were perfect Marnius Calgars for me. But looking at these are brilliant. Look at these armies. This to me is what got me into the hobby, not the whatever it is, pictures, or where are they? Not this. This never got me into that was the 3rd edition starter set there, cover. This was what I looked at. Look at that wolf. This was pristine me. I just loved seeing models like this. Dark Angels. My friend used to collect Dark Angels, and I started off with Dark Angels. And then went into Black Templars because they was in the 3rd edition set. And they were so easy to paint. Literally, my Black Templars, this is how bad I used to be. I used to spray them black. Used to dry brush a grey over the top lightly, and then I'd do the whites for the shoulder pads, and I'd do silver for all the guns and put a black ink because we were still using inks back then. Black ink over everything. There you go. That was my Black Templars for 3rd edition. So simple to paint. And that's why it used to cost me Nana fortune every week. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, Carskin Sergeant Herson. Oh, best models Games Workshop has ever done. Carskins. They are beautiful. Look at that. What a beautiful model. Oh. rubbing my knees right now. Yeah, love the Imperial Guard. They'll always be my boys, always. I owned about 60 car skins in my Imperial Guard army. I was that much a fan of the model, and look at that. That is a splatter shot right there. Oh dear. Oh, and there's my boys. There they are. How many guns he's got. Wow. Remember when they used to be in a box of 20 for 20 quid? Or was it 18 quid? Can't remember what it was. Box of 20, everything in it, there you go. Those are the days. Definitely those are the days. Oh, look at all these Lehman Russes. And the Sentinels. Used to love the Sentinels. Remember when they used to come in packs of 3 for 20 quid or 25 quid, whatever it was? You get 3 Sentinels. Now you pay probably 25 for one. Same as these. These used to be very well priced, and you used to get 3 of them, and you used to be able to do everything with them. Oh, that is a thing of beauty right there. That is just gorgeous. What a shot at the Guard. And then we got some more Guard regiments here. Not a fan of the other regiments, realistically. I just like the base Imperial Guard. Sisters. So there's the shot of the Sisters and some Grey Knights. Obviously old Grey Knights as well. Look at that. And there's the old Grey Knights right there. Look at them. They were fully metal. Oh, look at that. Oh, and the Inquisitors are here as well. Used to love that model. Absolutely loved it. That one right there. But this is all metal. I think they were metal as well. Everything here for the Grey Knights is metal. I think all the Sisters stuff was metal as well. Used to have some plastic Sisters because my sister had some plastic Sisters of Battle. I think she did. I might be lying on that one. Oh look, the Horus Heresy. The ruinous powers of chaos. Never into chaos in this. Fantasy chaos, yes. You used to adore fantasy chaos. But in terms of 40k, I've never been a fan. Eldar, the Dying Legion. Have they got... There's the old avatar of Cain, look. It's I always think that was really funny because it's meant to be like the most powerful thing ever, and he was like the smallest, derpiest miniature going. Still love these things though. I've always been a fan of these. The oh, what are they called? Wraith Knights, are they? Always been a fan of them. I always thought that Eldar would look amazing in wolves colours. So like you'd have like an orange, and then you'd have black for the helmets. Always wanted to do some Eldar in wolves colours. I've always thought they would look really, really nice. Never been a fan of the dark Eldar, but old Necrons. Very much old Necrons. These were all metal as well, weren't they? All these. I've always been a fan of the Necrons because I was a fan of Terminator. So I do have a small Necron force upstairs that's basically fully finished. It'll never get added to. Oh, the old Wraiths. Look at them. Brilliant. I've always liked the Necrons. I've always liked Grey Knights. Orcs. Look at the old Orcs. Oh, that was brilliant. I had that model. Adored it. Old Orcs. That was metal. This was as well. And he was. They were a pain to put together, these things was. Absolute pain to put together. And there's the big Orc blob. There we go, look. Here's some of the old shooter weapons at the back. The old trucks. There we go. The trucks were always so derpy because they were like second edition trucks. So they always had the very old style of orcs on them, and then you had you put the new style orcs on top of it, because these were like 3rd edition orcs when these come out in plastic, and so these are like 2nd edition stuff. Same as these here, I believe these are 2nd edition as well. And it always made me laugh how you got some derpy orcs, especially these ones. Look at these right here. That is proper 2nd edition stuff right there. Look at that orc's face. derpy orcs. I thought it was brilliant. Looking back at those, Armageddon. Oh, Armageddon come out then, didn't he? Was Armageddon the tail end of 3rd? Probably was, wasn't it? Yeah, because Gazgul would have come out during Armageddon. Brilliant. Never liked Tau. Never been a fan of Tau. I think it's the anime sort of aspects of them. It's never a fan. Never a fan at all. The Gundam type things. Never liked them. Tyranids, I've always liked Tyranids. But I always thought they were naff models to put together. Have we got the old Khan effects? Is that him right there? There he is. That was a swine, that model right there, because it was fully metal. And the arms, the sockets that they had to go into, kept just breaking off. What a pain in the backside that thing was. That was a terrible model to put together. And where's the other things? Is it like the leopard type things? I don't know. Can't see it. There they are. Them things. My God. Trying to put these things together. Jesus Christ, they were shocking. Because a friend of mine had Tyranids. And so he was mostly the one that I used to play against. So it was my Imperial Guard versus his Tyranids, and I used to help him build them. And I had a couple that I bought and painted up myself, mainly these type things here. Oh, so I just giddied him in the end. Let him have them. They were terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh, look. How to Paint Citadel Miniatures. I've still got that book somewhere. I have. And I've got the terrain one. I've still got them somewhere. Somewhere at my mum's house. But here's the Imperial Guards, which was basically an army. This was an Imperial Guard army. That was. Very much so. That was more like mine. A couple of tanks. Definitely the Sentinels. I only had a couple of Chimeras. So, yeah. Lots of troops. Lots of Karskins. That was how my Imperial Guard army was right there. That was mostly what I would take to my mate's house to play. That thing. Get rid of the Ogrins, put some more Karskin in. But look at this. How to collect blood angels. Literally a guide where it tells you exactly what to do. Literally a painting guide right at the top. Do they do them now? I know they do them on the online. I think they've mostly gone online, haven't they? But you tend not to get this now, which it literally breaks down what to do to collect, because it comes from Veteran Game. Hey, look, Ted Williams telling you how to basically collect blood angels and what to start with. So, like, starting with the troops and then HQ, and then add little things here and there to basically build them up. Tells you how to put decals on and everything. Look, there's another guide for Tyranids. Them Tyranids look a bit naff. Not a fan of that paint scheme. Not a fan of that one at all. They look way too dark, don't they? Way too dark. It tells you how you do them, but for me that looks naff. Oh look, we'll tell you how to make terrain. So I got that book somewhere, and look at this, telling you how to make boards up, telling you how to make your own obstacles, woods, everything. That book was great, actually. And then it takes you through some terrain types. So there's a jungle terrain, a bit of urban, marshland. I mean, look at that. Look at that board. Anyone who's anyone could make that board, right? There's no terrain on there except for a few little woods here and there. All you need to do is imagine what you'd do for this. So what I would do for that in, let's say, 2000, when I was pauper, let's say 2001, when I was a bit more pauperish, what would I do? Get some brown felt. So you got your table, so like this table right here, but you could buy the green 4x6 cloth, which used to cost 20 quid, I think, or 25. It was one of them. You could buy that, and then you could get to somewhere like Beatty's when it used to exist, and you could buy some brown cloth, and you could just chop it up, and there you go, marshland. And then all you'd have to do is create some trees, which that book there actually told you how to create trees. So anyone could do that. Literally anyone. And I feel that's what they're lacking now, because they make their own terrain and everything. And so they want you to basically buy, Combat Patrol. They want you to buy your own stuff, basically. Do you know? This is like, I forgot this was in here. So 4x4, 400 points armies, and you'd literally play smaller games. I actually forgot about that. Soddy now. Can't believe Combat Patrol is actually in this book. Wow. Huh. Remember that being sold separately and stuff like that later on. But this is why this is so great. Because this was, for me, the transition from Games Workshop, from hobbyist to public-owned company. You know, this is when they were still private, I believe, because it was just before, well, no, Lord of the Rings had taken off, but I think it was just before they went private. Before they went public, rather. They were still private. I believe that was, or they'd just done it just before this. I remember it. It's so hard to remember back then. You know, you're talking 20 years ago. So hard to remember. But this book, it's a shame they don't do this sort of stuff now. I mean, they still do it online, basically. And most people are online, aren't they? Let's face it, these days. But just showing you could use these small armies right here. That's one thing that they need addressing. And stuff like this, like instant terrain. So you'd get a cardboard, you'd cut this out, you'd photocopy this page, get a bit of hardboard or whatever it was, and then cut it out as the template, using books for hills, bit of cloth over. It's this sort of stuff that I feel Games Workshop were in the prime with. Teaching you how to just play and enjoy the game. That, for me, was prime Games Workshop. How to build a bunker. Look at that. Get all the foam board pieces, and that's how you do it. Templates right there for you to copy off. This is prime Games Workshop, you know. They would have showed you how to do all these tank traps and everything. All that was in the book. I remember that being in the book, because I remember making some of these back in the day. How to make craters. We've all made a crater. Raid missions. Don't remember them. All the types of matches. Kill team. Who remembers these guys? Who remembers Schaefer's Last Chances? The Dirty Dozen. Oh, I always used to use these. These are great. I used to love these. And Kill Team was great for it because they'd each have their own little individual sort of like rules, if I remember right. Or they would specifically have each have their own separate rules. I used to use these. Used to love them. Used to be brilliant. Yeah, I think Kill Team was separate, wasn't it? You imagine Kill Team being in the main book, along with Combat Patrol. You imagine that being in the main book now, showing you how to kit bash. Look at that. Literally showing you how to do green stuff and how to kit bash and put Australian hats on you guys for Crocodile Dundee here. Oh, it's beautiful. Looking back at this book, it's just gorgeous. It's a thing of beauty. Oh my God, it's a shame they went more corporate realistically, but you can't knock them for what they've done. They're still the #1 war game in the world, aren't they? And they're absolutely huge now. They're bigger now more than ever. So you can't knock them for what they've done. They're making money hand over fist. And they apparently pay their employees pretty well as well. So unlike other companies, you can't knock them for that. It's just when you get priced out, isn't it? Like I got priced out a long time ago. But there is other ways of doing things. I miss these old models though. So one thing I'll say for Games Workshop, the aesthetic of the models with that new computer assisted design, I don't feel it as much as I used to. Some are fine, but some I just don't like. Just don't like them. I think the aesthetic of them has gone way too far. Look at that. That is really nice. Looks like something you'd see in Mordheim. I'd have hated to put that thing together. Seen some of these old models here. The old vehicles. Camouflage on his walker. Look at that. That's a rhino combined with the derpy orc kit right there. Orc converted Land Raider. You can have fun with orcs, can't you? So one thing that you could do. Have a lot of fun with orcs. What's all this? There's more missions. So now, how many missions and stuff is in this book? Jesus. Wow. It's just jam-packed, isn't it? It's just absolutely jam-packed. It's worth the money. Even now, looking back on it, if you think about it, it's well worth the money compared to what they am now. Oh, look, and it tells you about the actual hobby themselves and everything else. White Dwarfs, independent retailers, Games Workshop stores. And then it shows you, look, some heavy metal paintings. So this is what happens when you get to the best of the best. Oh, look at that. That Inquisitor right there. So that's what Cote's... Is that Archaon's sword? It is, isn't it? What a kit bash. Oh, and that's nice as well. That's brilliant. Old Wolfen. Look at that. I've just noticed that. Sanguinius. So that right there is the old Necron Catan? The Necron Catan. And they've replaced his head and added stuff. Oh, that is brilliant, whoever did that. Martin Salin. Top marks are you, my friend. That is a brilliant kit bashing conversion right there. Unit types, blast markers, and then we get the quick reference sheet, which most of us who played the game and knew how to play it just used to stick with this. That's everything. That is everything. Don't know what that means. What a book, eh? What a book. Very much used to love this back then. Everything moves on with time now. I hope people who are still with the hobby enjoy the new edition and do a video for them in 20 years' time about how much they loved that edition that got them going. But yeah, thanks for watching.